Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Ref the District, episode number 213, live here on YouTube and Facebook. I'm the Stoner. That's Trev over there. Nathan will be back here in 2 weeks, I believe, from today, as he continues on with his stage work out there in Oklahoma, doing some live plays. And so he will be back soon. But of course, I don't know if you checked it out last week or earlier this week when he had his top 5 breakout video that was put out, which was really awesome. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do check it out. But we're here live, of course, again on YouTube and Facebook. Before we go anywhere, make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Share the video, and if you're listening on audio, make sure you leave a rating and review. And share that as well with your friends and let them know about Ref the District. We are on the Believe Network, sponsored by, of course, Bet Online and Don't Sleep Energy. Appreciate everybody who's checking us out here again live on Facebook and YouTube. Trev, how's your audio doing?
We're gonna wing it. We'll see what happens. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it sounds pretty good right now. We are
okay.
Are working out some kinks. I'm back to my old spot here. So I've got, I think, everything fixed up, and Trev's working on his audio, and I think we got that fixed up pretty well. We'll see as the show goes on, but we've got an awesome show for you all today. Trev, one of the things I mentioned earlier is I said, make sure you share this video, and I'm going to give you incentive later on in the show. We have a subscriber challenge that we've got going on, which has to do with sharing what Ref the District does here. So looking forward to sharing that with everybody here later on in the show. But look, we got an awesome show. In the cool down later on, we're going to be talking, we've got kind of like a grab bag in terms of everything that's going on with the Commanders and around the NFL, because a lot happens. You think it's the off season, but the NFL never sleeps. There's always stuff going on and some great things to talk about. But in the game later on, we're going to talk a little bit about Nathan's video, and that is the breakout performances from 2024. But also, how does that translate to 2025? Who do we think the breakout performers could possibly be in 2025 for the Commanders? And, of course, we want to talk about building blocks. Who are those building blocks for the Commanders right now? That's going to be interesting to talk about in the game. Here in the warm-up, we're going to be talking about the key dates that are coming up in the NFL and for the Commanders and how it relates to us here in the Commanders. We've got all kinds of folks here who are with us already. Dougford is in the house. What up, Dougford? Uptown Dre's in here. Lockdown, of course, is in here. He loves talking about hitting on the Eagles a little bit there. He says, smash that like button like it's a Philadelphia Eagle. I hear you on that. And of course, Jersey Slim is in here as well. We've got a lot of folks in here. Make sure you're hitting up that chat area on the side there and let us know you're here and make some good points, and we'll get to them. Key dates, Trev. I want to talk about a couple of key dates, and I want to hear your thoughts on these. And, of course, we want to hear everybody's thoughts on these key dates that are coming up. The first one is February 18th. That would be yesterday. That would be a day ago. Through March 4th, so that's a couple of weeks. That's when teams can designate a franchise tag or a transition tag. And, of course, there's two different kinds of franchise tags. We won't get too deep into it because really there isn't anybody on Washington that we're thinking about tagging, putting a franchise tag on. Because you normally, when you do a franchise tag, it's basically somebody whose contract is up and you haven't yet come to a long-term deal, but both sides are probably want to do that, but you haven't gotten there yet. So in order to protect that player from losing him in free agency, you slap that tag on them and they can't negotiate, depending on which tag you put in. They can't negotiate with other teams. So they're still out of view. So that began yesterday all the way through March 4th. Trev, we did hear that Cincinnati plans on putting the franchise tag on T. Higgins.
Yep.
What does that do for Washington in terms of what they're trying to do in the offseason and looking for wide receiver 2? What does that specific franchise tag on T. Higgins do?
It gives the Commanders less of a chance at a home run swing for a wide receiver 2 in the caliber of T. Higgins to get him via free agency or trade. So you heard Joe Burrow say they want to keep the band together, spend all the money you can. He'll take a pay cut. He'll do whatever it takes to keep Chase and T. Higgins together. And that's what the Bengals are trying to do. This is the first step in doing that, like you said, is by placing a tag on T. Higgins. I don't think it's time officially yet, like you said, but it's going to happen. So that just means we got to go to plan 1A, I guess, which I'm sure that we already have that in plan because of who our front office is. But as far as T. Higgins is going, that's like the best.
I think you got to switch your mic to the other mic again, because now this one's popping again. So it's popping everywhere right now. It was all right at the beginning, and then it just started popping, and now it's like you're popping popcorn in the background over there. But we'll get that fixed as we go along here. As Locked On says here, he's saying, I doubt we use the tag on anyone, which is true because you don't have anybody within the organization that you're worried about possibly leaving in terms of, remember, if you do a franchise tag, then what you have to do is you have to give that player, the franchise tag means you have to give that player an average of the top 5 salaries at your position, at that position. So if you were talking about guys who you would like to keep around who are free agents, let's just throw a guy out there as an example. Let's just say Bobby Wagner, just for the sake of talking about this subject.
Okay.
Bobby Wagner would be getting a franchise tag, would be getting the average of the top 5 linebackers in the league, which I don't know what that number is specifically, but it's probably somewhere in 20 million range, right? Bobby Wagner's you're not going to give Bobby Wagner $20 million. You gave him $6 million last year. He had a good year, but he's a year older and a step slower this year. So it's not going to be Bobby Wagner.
No.
But I did come up with one guy, Trev, that could possibly, you might possibly, if you can't come up with a long-term deal, and that's Tress Way. Right? Tress Way is a free agent, unrestricted free agent. You probably want to keep him around.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be tough to negotiate with.
No.
Right? He's going to be a guy who you're going to be able to sign if you want to.
Yeah.
Because I looked at, like, for example, his last deal last year, he made $3.75 million.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
And the last time he signed an extension was all the way back in 2019, and it was a 4-year, $13.65 million deal. Right? So that has been redone a couple of times to get him to this point now, but now he's an unrestricted free agent. If you tag him, you got to give him $6.459 million.
Okay.
So that's the possibility, but I don't think Tress Way is worthy of a top 5 punter contract.
No, I don't think so either. He was, but as of recently, not anymore.
Yeah. So Tress Way is the only guy I could really think of in order to put a franchise tag on. But that's it. There isn't anybody else who's a free agent that deserves top 5 at their position money that you want to lock in here in Washington. But it will be interesting to see on other teams, like we said, about T. Higgins and maybe some other guys that might get tagged, of guys you were hoping would be an unrestricted free agent, but not at this point. All right. The next date to think of, February 24th through March 3rd. February 24th is when? Monday? That's the NFL Combine.
Oh.
The Underwear Olympics is here already. Right?
The underwear Olympics. I like that.
I mean, it's all of a sudden it's here.
Yeah.
We just had the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden we've got the NFL Combine starts next week and goes through March 3rd. It's 2 weeks. And really the first week is just a lot of physicals and measurements and all that other stuff. But then the second week is when you get the 40s and the
exciting part.
Yeah, the 3-cone drills and just all that stuff. You get to watch these guys go out there and perform. And so speaking of the combine, and a lot of people were talking about draft picks this year already, right? And let's not forget what Washington's picks are this year. When we're watching this combine and we're looking at who Washington should draft or could draft or would want to draft, in the first round, they got pick number 29.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the result of having a good season, right? You pick
bad,
in the first round, 29.
Yeah.
So they got first round, they got pick 29. In the second round, they have of that round pick 29 as well, which is overall number 61. And then in the third round, they've got the 15th pick of that round, which is the 79th overall, which is the pick that they got for the Jahan Dotson trade, which looks like an amazing trade now, right? A third rounder for what he has become. And then they've got they lost their own third rounder. That was the one that they gave up for Marshawn Lattimore. They lost their fourth rounder, Marshawn Lattimore.
Okay.
So they don't have a third right now. They don't have a third rounder. They don't have a fourth rounder. They've got a fifth rounder, which is overall pick number 148. And that's the pick they're getting from New Orleans in the Lattimore deal. They got a fifth round for that fourth rounder that they gave up. And then they don't have one again until the sixth round, which is overall 207. Then the seventh round, 238 and 250. And those are all going to bump down. Especially that sixth rounder is going to become a seventh rounder because of all those compensatory picks that other teams have. That's where they start really backing you down and backing you down and backing you down. So really they've got a first, a second, a third, a fifth, and 3 sevenths. That's not a great haul of draft picks for a team, for an organization where everyone wants to build through the draft. So, Trev, I mean, they got 29th, 61st, 79th, and then they don't have one again until 148.
Okay. It sounds bad, but we have Adam Peters, and Adam Peters I trust.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have some rookies from last year that probably want to step up in their second year, and so we probably don't have to fill some needs because we did that. We addressed it last season, but I mean, I still think that's not bad. First, second, third. You said fifth, sixth, and 2 sevenths.
Yeah,
it's not bad because we have Adam Peters.
Yeah.
So those fifth and sixth and sevenths, let's say fifth and sixth and thirds, can be some grinders, can be some gems, some diamonds in the rough because of who our front office is. So, yeah, it's probably not ideal, but we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it work between last year's rookies and this year's draft class. It's a nice foundation to start building. Yeah,
it's those first 3 picks, they're all top 100 picks. So that's a good thing to have, is those higher picks, especially the first 2 rounders. But I'm going to show something here. I'm going to show you a graphic. All right, I'm bringing it up here.
Okay.
So here's the graphic. Let me get the
oh yes,
our graphic out of the way. So check this out. This is every team's first and second round picks that are starters on the teams that drafted them, which is a really interesting graphic, right? Because you have the Bears, who in the entire NFL, they have the most first and second rounders that they drafted that are starters. And they were terrible last year. right? But then you go the second one, and you got the Eagles, who won the Super Bowl, right? So, and then you got New Orleans, they were terrible. Pittsburgh, who was pretty good. Tampa, who was a playoff team. And then you go to the very bottom, and you got Washington.
Yeah.
Who is the 32nd of first and second round picks that are starters on the team that drafted them, only 36%. And we can probably name them off, right? Or obviously you've got Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
Cosme.
Oh yeah.
Right? He was a second rounder.
Are you doing offense or defense or just combined?
This is everybody.
John Allen, Deron Payne.
Yeah, probably. Yep. And I don't know if you put Newton in there.
Johnny Newton.
And then I don't know, Quan Martin.
Nah.
He was a second rounder, wasn't he?
Second round?
I think so. I can't remember, second or third. He was pretty high. Yeah, he was. I think he was second. I think he was the pick right after Forbes.
Yeah.
I don't know if they consider Johnny Newton a starter.
Oh, true.
But last year, maybe Benjamin St. Juste was considered. Well, he was a third rounder, so that doesn't count. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, not that many.
And this team won 12 games and went to the NFC Championship.
Yep.
So the graph maybe doesn't necessarily explain it, or it doesn't necessarily correlate to wins that you have to have your first and second round picks be starters and be studs.
Right.
It obviously helps that you have that. It obviously, when you can get the second overall pick and get a guy named Jayden Daniels, then obviously it helps big time.
Big time.
All right, so that's the combine. Starts next week. Next week, we're going to see, remember last year, Xavier Worthy ran the fastest 40 in combine history, right? And then Jayden Daniels didn't throw at the combine, but he was there.
Yeah.
Wasn't he throwing the basketball around or something all the time?
Watching Malik Neighbors and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to see some talented dudes, and you never know. With the 29th pick, they could get a real stud there, or they could trade up.
Yeah.
Right, as well. Good point by Dougford here. Sanders still was a second rounder, and he was definitely a starter as well. So thanks, Ron. Appreciate you with all your terrible draft picks.
Yeah.
All right. The next thing to talk about, the next big date to talk about, March 10th. Put that on your calendar. March 10th. That's a big one. Noon Eastern. Legal tampering.
Oh, boy.
That's when you can start talking to unrestricted free agents.
I'm so excited for that day.
I know, right? That's always a big day. You can talk to them. You can negotiate with them, but you cannot sign a contract. But you can start talking to them on that date.
They're already talking right now, but,
Yeah, not supposed to be.
Nah, but, they definitely are.
Remember, do you remember back in the old days with the previous regime, and we won't put any names in there. But remember when Albert Haynesworth was signed at 12:02 a.m. when it was legal? That's when the league year started. And you're like, what, they weren't talking?
Exactly, they just did it in 2 minutes? Right, okay. Right.
In 2 minutes, yes. We got all the contracts have been looked at and lawyers and everything, and signed it in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So March 10th, again, that's only a few weeks away.
Right.
When legal tampering starts. And then March 12th, that's just a couple of days later, that's the new league year. That's when you can officially start signing guys.
I can't wait.
You remember a couple years ago, I think it was, when J.D. McKissick had agreed to a deal with Buffalo.
Yeah.
But he didn't sign it, obviously. He agreed in the legal tampering, and then when it came time to sign, he actually signed back with Washington, which was a waste, I think, because he was hurt most of that second year. So that's what Lockdown was asking. Legal tampering is March 10th.
He said, when can we start illegal tampering?
Oh, illegal tampering. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, that's probably ongoing for sure. All right. So that's March 10th, March 12th, of course. That's when you can start trading as well.
Yeah.
What sometimes people forget is that the free agency comes before the draft, even though the combine is before free agency.
Yeah.
Free agency is before the draft. So to do a bunch of mock drafts right now, to me, is kind of foolish, because you have to take into consideration what they do in free agency before you can decide what you want to do in a mock draft.
It definitely affects your draft.
Yeah. So we always have the debate, especially on this show, we have the debate about whether you take best player available or you take for need. Right? And I always said, if at pick 29, let's just say for argument's sake,
right,
they signed T. Higgins, right? And with the 29th pick, the best player available is the wide receiver from Ohio State. Forget his name.
Jabari Smith or
no, he's only a freshman. He can't come out yet.
The other one,
Ibuke or something.
Ibuke, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And let's just say he's the best player available. You're not drafting him. You're just not. You're gonna draft an edge if you didn't sign one in free agency.
I would at least, I wouldn't draft, if we had T. Higgins. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what if we trade for Cooper Kupp? Do you and homeboy's there at 29? Do you take him at 29 still?
I mean, me? No. But that's the debate, right? He's the best player available, and you didn't sign a guy for the next 4 years like you would with T. Higgins. Cooper Kupp is not a long-term answer.
That's so
right.
That's tough.
He's a Zach Ertz kind of guy. He's a 1-year guy that you're going to bring in and hopefully be that safety net for Jayden Daniels. Would you?
Yeah.
You would take Egbuka at 29
if he's there, and
if he's there, and you had signed Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I wouldn't, but
only because it's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
He's in his declining years. If you said we got him for a year, why not draft a kid, let him learn behind Terry and Kupp, and then honestly battle it out with Luke McCaffrey for that wide receiver 3 spot.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm not.
Okay. If he's best player available, but what if there's the best edge available right there at 29? You take the best edge?
This guy does.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, this guy does for sure.
Now, if it was just Ibuka was the best player, hands down, no matter offense, defense, whatever.
Not me,
tough, dude. I'm so glad I'm not in charge of that.
Right. And I know we always like to say, let Adam Peters figure it out. Well, of course, but we still like to debate it. We still like to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't want another Emmanuel Forbes, Christian Gonzalez debacle happening. We passed up on the best player, which was Christian Gonzalez, because we wanted Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah.
So that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, I don't even know that we talked about that last week, even that report came out that.
Oh, yeah. There was a yelling on draft day.
Yeah, there was a yelling when it came time for Washington to pick at 16.
Yeah.
17, 18, whatever it was.
Lonzo and Forbes.
Yeah. And apparently Ron won that argument, right? He loved him some Forbes. Unbelievable.
It is.
There's a lot of people who are definitely out on
Cooper Kupp. I know. It's just an example, but I mean, it could happen. It could happen.
Yep. But I will maintain this forever and ever. Of course, it depends on what happens in free agency. But at 29 and at 61 and at 79, first round, second round, third round, I'm going defense, defense, defense.
Yeah.
Of course, on offense, you want some things. You want a wide receiver 2 out of the draft, or you want a running back like again, Ohio State kid, Trayvon Henderson. I think Trayvon's his first name. I know it's Henderson, right? You want that. But Jayden Daniels shows that you don't necessarily have to have those game breakers to have an efficient offense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you do want to make it easier for him, but you've got the 30th ranked defense, or wasn't that bad, the 22nd ranked defense.
Yeah.
And that's what you gave up 55 points in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
You need to fix the defense, and you need to put your best resources, your highest draft picks, the most money in free agency on the defensive side. You can't fix everything in one offseason.
No.
You can make things better, but you can't do all of that in one offseason.
Right.
And also don't forget that Washington has the second most amount of basically roster spots open because of unrestricted free agency. They have the least amount of guys coming back under contract, just like they did last year. So it's going to be another massive overhaul of the roster.
another different team.
Yep. All right. So a couple more dates to look at. April 16th. That's the deadline for when draft eligible players can visit the facilities. And I put that one down. I mean, that's not really a big deal, but that just reminded me of last year with the whole Top Golf and Jayden Daniels and Drake May and
all the quarterbacks with the Top Golf.
On how crazy that was. And Jayden Daniels was the only one that was picked up by himself by, I don't know, was it Adam Peters? I don't remember at this point.
Yeah.
Right. And he was the only, and it was just such a big deal last year.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's because we were in quarterback purgatory. So we were like, oh, they're playing Top Golf together. Oh, they're wearing the same shoes. Oh my God.
Right.
They have the same quarterback coach. So it doesn't really matter who we get.
That was a crazy time with the quarterbacks last year.
That's why I'm like so aloof this offseason until free agency, because we won. And like we're not looking for a quarterback. We're not looking for a new coaching staff. We're not looking for draft picks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was a wild time last year. April 21st is when the Commanders can begin off-season workouts. That's their opportunity to start their first off-season workouts. We haven't gotten to the draft yet. Then, of course, the big one is April 24th, 25th, 26th. In Green Bay is where they're holding the draft this year.
Okay.
Outdoors, I assume. Last year it was in Detroit. It was outdoors. It was cold, but they had 100,000 people there every day.
They did.
Crazy.
They did.
So that's April 24th to 26th. And somebody asked this earlier, and I forgot to mark it, to bring it back, but whether or not we're going to do a draft, a live stream on draft night, right? Because we've done it all the other years because we were drafting so high.
That's right.
Right. And you only have to wait. Like last year, we only had to wait like 20 minutes before the second pick was announced. But this year,
we gotta wait till the daggone draft's almost over on night one.
That's going to be like 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. I don't know what we're going to do with the
unless we get a player like Lamar Jackson at 29 when he went 30th.
Yeah,
I might be asleep. That was good.
Yeah, so we'll figure that out as we get closer. Of course, we want to do it, but what are we going to talk about for 3 hours? I mean, it's fun to look at what everyone else is doing, but the anticipation is not there like it has been in the past.
29th.
May 1st is the 5th-year option deadline. So, any idea who on Washington is eligible for the 5th-year option?
No one.
That is correct. Nobody is eligible because it should be Jahan Dotson.
Right.
But Washington traded him away, of course. So the 5th-year option, of course, is the team can give the first rounder, they all sign 4-year contracts. All first rounders get 4-year contracts. And the team can say, okay, I want him to get the 5th year also, but that's only for first rounders, and they have to be guys you drafted. And I was looking over that class, that 2022 class, who are all eligible. That was a good draft. And I would say probably 90% of the guys who are drafted are going to get that 5th year option picked up. Think about some of these guys. Trayvon Walker was one, Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Stingley Jr., Sauce Gardner, Kayvon Thibodeau, Ikem Ekwonu, the offensive tackle for Carolina.
Yeah.
And then you get to Evan Neal. Evan Neal probably won't for the Giants.
No.
But then you got Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams.
It's already been 4 years for these guys?
Well, it's 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Right? And then you have to decide before their 4th year whether you're going to give it to them a 5th year deal.
That's right.
Right? So that's pretty wild that it was the Jahan Dotson draft. And remember the Jahan Dotson draft, Washington had the 11th pick. Right?
Yeah.
And then they traded back to 16.
Yeah.
They might have traded back twice. I don't remember, but they ended up at 16. And the picks that they got for moving back, of course, was Jahan Dotson, who they picked 16th. I'll never forget that because we were at FedEx for that. And Trev was on with us, and they drafted Jahan Dotson, and Trev went, who the hell's Jahan Dotson?
I was so mad.
Because we were all thinking that we wanted Chris Olave. We wanted the guys who went earlier, though. We wanted Jameson Williams and
Kyle
Drake
Hamilton
London and all that. But then when they moved back to 16, it was like, we still need that wide receiver too. And then they took Jahan Dotson. We were like, who is that? But remember who they got? Their other draft picks that they got from New Orleans for trading back.
Yeah.
That ended up being Brian Robinson Jr., Cole Turner, and Sam Howell.
Oh my
Those
God.
are the 3 guys that they got for Chris Olave. And that didn't work out well. And New Orleans, I mean, Chris Olave had a really tough year this past year with concussions.
Yeah.
But he's a stud.
Yeah, he is.
Thanks,
Big
Ron.
time.
Thanks, Ron. All right, couple more dates here. Again, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And again, share this video. And I'm going to give you incentive to share this video a little bit later in what we're calling, this is going to be a challenge, a subscriber challenge. So make sure you stay tuned for that later on in the show. Couple more dates, Trev. May 2nd through 5th or the 9th through 12th. That's in May. That's rookie mini camp. No big deal. And then basically mid-July, training camp will be here for everybody.
That's crazy.
You're going to have a lot of voluntary OTAs and little mini camps here and there. And I promise you this, Trev, they will have 100% participation in
I believe
voluntary OTAs.
I believe that too. Yeah.
You think Jayden Daniels is going to miss a voluntary OTA?
No.
No chance.
His mom not going to let him do that either.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So before we get on to, I mean, if I were a betting man, Trev, which I sometimes am, right? I would bet that they're going to have 100% participation. If you want to bet, go on over to BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, so let's move on to the breakout performances from 2024. I want to hear everyone's thoughts on who they thought that was going to be, but maybe more importantly, we want to hear who you think could be breakout performers in 2025. And also, by the way, who are those building blocks that Washington has right now for the future of this team? So we're going to talk about that coming up here in the game. All right, welcome back to episode number 213 of Ref the District. I am the Stoner. That over there is Trev. We are, of course, Ref the District. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this video. And again, later on, we're going to give you some incentive to share this video. And let me just give you a quick tease. The incentive is there for you to share this video later on. Trev.
Change your banner thing.
Damn it. Good call. I always forget that. Good call. Breakout players who shine the brightest in 2024. First, let me give you what Nathan had. And I want to hear what everybody who is here, Big E's here, TJ's here, of course, Locked On, JG, Tommy's in the house, as always, Commander for Life, HTTC, Roger is in the house, SGB's here, all kinds of people. Brian, we appreciate everybody who is here. Uptown, I think I mentioned TJ as well, Nathan, all you guys, Jersey Slim. Make sure we want to hear who your breakout performers were in 2024. Nathan had Diami as his number 5 breakout performer. I mean, his rationale was he doubled everything he had done combined in the first 3 years. He doubled it this past year. So that's pretty big. Then he had Terry McLaurin as a breakout performer. Mikey Sanistril, Frankie Louvu, and of course, Jayden Daniels were his 5 breakout performers. Are we missing anybody from last year?
No.
There was a breakout performer.
No. Think so.
Nobody else kind of broke out in your mind in terms of kind of getting to the level we thought they were supposed to be.
I mean, maybe like number 5B to Nathan's list is Zach Ertz, only because we brought him here for a year and we all thought he was, an aging tight end and, probably wouldn't make it the whole year healthy and, given his injury history and his age and all that. But I think he kind of exceeded our expectations for what he brought to the Washington Commanders. I mean, he had almost a career year here. He was really, really good for Jayden Daniels, good locker room guy. He wants to come back and play for Washington again, loves Cliff K, loves DQ. So I would say like 5B would be Ertz because of his age and his injury history. What he did for us was kind of a breakout player for us.
Yeah, Tommy T agrees with you that he was a breakout. You're right, because he hadn't really done a whole lot the previous couple of years. So that was big. I mean, Jayden Daniels, of course, is an easy one to say that he was a breakout. Obviously, the best rookie quarterback performance in the history of the game. So that was a big deal. My big one was Frankie Louvu.
Yeah.
Because really he hadn't done a whole lot in his career. Now, he had some good years there in Carolina. Yeah. But nobody knew who he was.
No.
Right? Even when Washington signed him, we were like, oh, okay.
Right.
All right. Right. And then he was as who is it right here? As Lockdown says right here, he's a dog, and DAWG in capital letters for sure. TJ brings up a good one. It's Dante Fowler Jr. Even though the kid was a high draft pick, he really hadn't done a whole lot in his career.
No.
And then to come here in Washington and have double-digit sacks.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. And he had an interception return for a touchdown.
Oh, true, yeah.
Right? I mean, I thought he was good in terms of comparing it to what he had done in the past.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I'm not a Dante Fowler Jr. guy. Like, I'm okay with him walking. Yeah. Because I didn't think he did a very good job overall defensively. Yeah. But, for sure. Time T has another one. Eckler on kickoffs was definitely a breakout. We hadn't seen that really from him, and especially hadn't seen that in Washington. But all right, so those are the breakouts from last year. I think most of them were pretty easy. Mikey Sanistril was awesome. we thought he was going to be good, but come on, we didn't think he was going to be quite the player that he became. But I do want to ask this, and this is a little bit off topic, but it is Mikey Sanistril. Do you want him on the outside, staying on the outside next year, or do you want to move him inside in the slot and get somebody else on the outside?
Yeah, go back to what he's known for, which is the slot. He's good on the outside. He plays it when called upon, if necessary. But if we have a choice, put him back in the slot and go get you a cornerback via draft or free agency to be that cornerback too, next to Marshawn Lattimore. Yeah, go back in the inside. No shade against him. He held his own, but let's be real. Like, I don't want to see A.J. Brown burn him twice a year. I don't see C.D. Lamb or anybody else on the outside burn him in our division twice a year. So put him back.
Yeah, I agree. And I think everybody else agrees here as well is I don't think he's – number one, I don't think he's tall enough. And you don't have to be tall.
No,
right?
But sometimes –
but it sure helps to have those long arms. And also I don't think he's fast enough to hang with those guys.
No.
And he's smart enough. He's a very intelligent player where he can do things to make up for his not lack of speed, but lack of elite speed.
Yeah.
And he showed that in the divisional round against Detroit when Jamison Williams got behind him and he made up that gap and was able to pick that ball off right before halftime, which was a big play in that game. But you don't want to count on him covering Jamison Williams. You just don't.
No.
And he'll fight. He'll fight you. He'll fight with A.J. Brown, right? He will scrap and he will claw and he will do whatever it takes. But he just doesn't have the physical dimensions, if you will. He just doesn't have the height and the speed to hang with guys like that. So, and I think everybody else here, TJ says inside, SGB says inside, and Tommy says inside. JG says inside. Pretty much everybody wants to see him back inside. That means you got to go get CB2.
Yeah.
And that means you got to hang on to Marshawn Lattimore.
Chardavius Ward. Go get him.
I like it. What about DJ Reed?
I like that too.
Right? So those guys are going to cost a little money, but absolutely.
We got it.
And then I think some other guys, here was one that I really liked that I didn't think of, and that's Big E says that Sheldon Day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was a nobody.
Yeah.
He was an absolute nobody. I think he's like in his 7th or 8th year, and he was balling. I'd like to see him come back this year. So that was a good one as well. All right, Trev, looking towards 2025.
Yeah.
Guys you have on the roster now, obviously. And I'll even allow, just for this sake of argument or for the heck of it, guys who were on the team last year but are unrestricted free agents. So if you want to use a guy like Fowler again or whatever, even though he's not technically on the team yet in 2025, you can. Give me a couple of guys that are 2025 potential breakout performers.
Ooh, potential breakout performers for 2025.
Yeah.
I got Ben Sinnott. I think we're going to see a breakout year.
God, I forgot about dude, man.
And he won't have to do much because he didn't do much for us his rookie year, which is fine. But I think whatever he does production-wise better than this year will be enough to consider a breakout. So I'm going to go Ben Sinnott.
That's a good one. Well, before you move on to another one.
Yeah.
He definitely has that potential to be a breakout guy. But will he still have the same potential to be a breakout guy if they re-sign Zach Ertz?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think he's got a year under his belt. He knows the system. He has a better chance of knowing it better his second year. He learned a lot from Zach Ertz. So he might be more involved in the offense this season than he was last year, as far as like pass catching and running the ball. Yeah.
All right. I like it. And by the way, Trev, your audio is pristine.
Okay. Thanks.
For whatever you got it set at now, remember it or whatever for future.
Word. And then I can go my next one, Johnny Newton. And I say
Johnny
that
Newton.
because I think there's going to be some movement on that defensive line this season. I think one of the Bama boys is going to be gone.
I
I
agree.
think we're going to sign a nice edge or two, or a defensive tackle or an edge in the offseason via free agency. So I think it's going to look a little different than it did this year, and which means depending on who we sign, Johnny Newton could see more playing time. Probably still a rotational guy. Also depends on who we sign. But if he becomes a starter, then he can have a breakout year because he's learning from John Allen, Deron Payne, and then whoever else we bring in, some veterans, probably on the defensive line. So I'll say Johnny Newton has a good chance.
All right. That's a good one. I'm not as high on Johnny Newton. I think he has the talent, and I think he's going to be a darn good defensive tackle. I just didn't like the pick in the second round for another defensive tackle. That's just me, but I think he will. I think he will up his game here in the next this year. So that's definitely a guy. And I'm gonna give you one that I agree a lot of people are putting this guy in here, and that's Quan Martin.
Oh, really?
It's going to be year number 3 for him, right?
Yeah.
And he got better this year than he was in his first year. And in his first year, he got better the second half of the year. If you remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember him in preseason that first year, he was lost.
Yeah.
He was
really
absolutely lost.
Yeah.
But he's really come on. And I think he has an opportunity to be a breakout guy next year. So a couple of people said that. And here's another one that I think is interesting. Ronald at Indian Lake says, I'm hoping Jordan McGee. But I'll say it in the same way, Trev, that we talked about Sinnott. If he's going to have a breakout, how is he going to do that if you bring back Bobby Wagner? Because they play the same position, right? So he's going to be stymied in terms of him being having the opportunity to be a breakout player if he's stuck behind a guy who plays 99.8% of the snaps. Right? When's he going to play?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And he had a lot of injury issues too last year too. So
yeah,
maybe he's not quite ready yet, but I think when it's his time, it'll happen.
I saw him a few times on special teams
where
he popped, right?
Yeah.
But let's also not forget that it was squarely on his shoulders, squarely his fault on that Cowboys touchdown return, the long one, not the one at the very end of the game, but the long one, the 100-yarder or whatever, because he got out of his lane. He got too excited and got out of his lane, and that was his lane that old boy ran through. I already forgot who their returner. What's their returner's name? Turpin?
Yeah, Kayvon Turpin, something like that.
Yeah, Turpin, whatever. I don't like that guy. All right. A couple others that we want to talk about here before we get into our challenge, our subscriber challenge. It's going to be pretty exciting. You're going to want to stick around for that. All right, Trev, how about this name? And I think you'll like it. How about Luke McCaffrey? Are you high on Luke McCaffrey, or are you kind of down on him?
I want to be high on him because he did some nice things in the return game. He was getting some separation early on in the season from receivers.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know why he wasn't getting too many looks or that much playing time last year.
Yeah.
I like Luke McCaffrey, not just because of his name, but because I would pay attention to him this season on the field and training camp and during the season when he was on there. And I like him. I think he'd be a nice little slot guy, a little gadget guy for us, but I just don't know what's preventing that from happening right now. We'll see what we do at wide receiver too this season too to kind of let us know where Luke McCaffrey is on the roster or in their mind. But and then granted, he is learning the position. He was a quarterback.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
He's turning to a receiver, so he's still learning the position as he gets his career going. But I just want to see him get some more opportunities, some more targets before we start to say I'm high or low on Luke McCaffrey. Same with Ben Sinnott. I'm high on both.
All right. Yeah, and I think it's tough. It's easy for people to say, to give the excuse that he has only played receiver now for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? 2 years in college and then 1 year at the NFL level.
Yeah.
But you know who's only played one position for 3 years as well, that's on this team, who had a position switch in college and played 2 years at one position and now 1 year in the NFL?
Who?
Mikey Sanistril.
Oh, that's different.
He was a receiver.
It's different.
Why is it different?
Because cornerbacks line up against receivers every day. It's not a hard position to transition from, because you're just studying the opposite of what you already know. Quarterback to receiver, that's hard.
It's totally different.
Yeah, you gotta get the timing down. You gotta get the steps in your routes down, the breaks around, the in cuts, and that's kind of a little bit of advantage too, being from a quarterback to receiver, because as a quarterback, you know what to look for in receiver, and so that will help you see with a quarterback. But it's way harder than receiver and cornerback because they're literally the same position.
Okay.
Opposite each other.
You know who's a really good, who was a really good corner for Washington that played wide receiver in college?
Champ Bailey?
got to Washington, and they converted him in his rookie year. He was a wide receiver and got to Washington his rookie year and became a pretty darn good player. Remember Quentin Dunbar?
Oh, yes.
Right? He was a wide receiver in Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
And they converted him. They didn't like he wasn't a corner for like his last year at Florida. He was a wide receiver, never played corner. Got to Washington, they saw something in him and converted him to a corner, and he was pretty darn. He turned it into a second contract with Seattle, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
Right, got a pretty nice contract, and then I think he robbed a card game, right?
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
he do that? Remember him and another player like robbed
the guy
a card
from Georgia
game?
who was supposed to be really good.
Yeah,
Baker.
yeah.
Something Baker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That was a crazy story, and I don't know what happened to him after that, but yeah, old Quentin Dunbar was
Quentin Dunbar, number 47.
So maybe you're right. Maybe you're right that that it's easier to go from receiver to corner than it is from quarterback to receiver. So maybe we need to give Luke a little bit of time, because you're right also, Trev, that he had some really good analytics in terms of always being open quite a bit and just not getting the ball. And so there's a chance for him to break out. How about this? Let me give you one more name and tell me what you think. Maybe a little bit controversial. And I think Locked On said it earlier kind of as a joke or whatever, but how about Brian Robinson Jr.?
No.
There's no chance that he can have a breakout year at running back.
No.
I mean, no chance.
No, because I think we're going to address that position this offseason too.
Do you think there's a chance? This is a crazy question. Do you think there's a chance Brian Robinson Jr. gets cut at any point before the season starts? Now, when the league year starts, after the draft, is there a chance that Brian Robinson could get cut from this team?
Yes, there's always a chance. It's a business. It's always a chance of you getting cut, no matter who you are, unless you're the quarterback, of course. But yeah, there is a chance.
I mean, let's just say they take that kid from Ohio State, Trayvon Henderson, right, at 29.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you've got Trayvon, you've got Austin Eckler.
Yeah,
he's back. He's under contract for this next year. And, C-Rod, or they signed, what's his name, didn't they? The other guy who.
Oh, yeah, Michael Wiley.
right? Who got a little bit of playing time or whatever, but was really good in training camp. I mean, there's a chance they could just say bye-bye to Brian Robinson Jr.
And roll with the rookie and Austin Eckler.
Yeah. Trayvon Henderson, Austin Eckler, C-Rod as a backup. I believe he's kind of signed. I don't know what his contract is. Kind of a weird one. Right? And Michael Wiley is your practice squad guy.
Yeah. He's not, like Roger right there said, he's not special.
Yeah.
I mean, he's special. I mean, that's how you win in this league, as a good running game. And we only have that, like you said, all this whole time is because of Jayden Daniels, which is not ideal. Yes, you want Jayden Daniels to be a leading rusher for your team, but not the leading rusher for your team.
Yeah.
We need him to make passes. We need his legs more than just 1,000 yards rushing, you know? So, yeah, I think there's a good chance.
He's not an Adam Peters guy, right? He was a Ron Rivera draft pick.
He's not, and I think they like B-Rob. B-Rob's a tough runner. He's a tough runner. That's not going to twist who he is. But he's not somebody that you have to game plan for. There's nothing special about him. There's nothing that makes any opponent go, now B-Rob back there. They probably go, now Austin Eckler's back there. That's who they really are game planning for. Our running game is Austin Eckler, not B-Rob. And that's kind of bad, because Austin Eckler is an aging running back. B-Rob was a high draft pick. I know he went through some adversity with the leg shooting, and he came back from that, which is awesome. But like Roger said, he's not special. There's nothing special about that guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And then when that happens, I'm gonna just play on a loop that video where I told y'all in the rookie year, I said he's a Jag, and you and Nathan both lost your minds. You thought I was insane.
Yeah, we were Ashburn syndrome bad.
Yeah.
Okay, we were in quarterback purgatory. We had to lean on something.
Yeah, I mean he's a fine running back. He'll probably, as long as he's healthy, he'll play another 5 years somewhere in the league.
Right, as a number 2 and number 3 running back for sure.
Yeah, and he might even be somebody's 1, right? But he's not going to be the answer for anybody. He's good, and he's a good, right? He has good attitude, and he's a hard worker, and he's a team player, all of that. So he's good for the team, but they find one running back.
That's all it takes, bro.
And it's gone because Eckler's under contract. And somebody asked about C-Rod coming back, right? But C-Rod, when I checked on his contract, he has some sort of weird, he's not an unrestricted free agent, and he's not a restricted free agent. He's something weird, but anyway, Washington has his rights. So he's probably going to come back this year. All right, I got to give you one more because I really like these potential breakout stars. And let's talk about our left tackle, or maybe he's going to be the right tackle, or maybe he's going to be the right guard, and that's Brandon Coleman.
Yeah.
Right? There's a chance Brandon Coleman has a breakout season.
Oh, for sure. I agree. No matter where he plays, he'll have a breakout year.
You like Brandon Coleman?
He didn't do too bad.
You like Brandon Coleman?
I do. I think he has the body of a nice offensive tackle. He didn't do too bad his first year at the position. He kind of went through some injury adversity as well, and kind of got worked against some other guys. But for the most part, he did a really good job for a third-round offensive tackle.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of guys on that offensive line that maybe weren't great, but Jayden made them look a whole lot better.
Yes.
Because of his abilities, just all kinds of abilities. Get the ball out quicker, scramble, rollouts, RPOs will do that for you. So it will be interesting to see what they do on the offensive line, especially with Brandon Coleman. I'm curious to see where he ends up playing in 2025, but he has a chance to be a breakout player. All right, Trev, here's what we're going to do before we go on to the cool down, where we've got Trev's news and notes will be front and center for the cool down. We want to, first of all, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and share the video. And here's the Here, you've been waiting for it. I've been teasing it this whole time. Here is the challenge, our subscriber challenge. Here's what we want everybody to do. Everybody who's here right now watching live is probably a subscriber, I would say, right? So here's what we need you all to do, and anybody who is watching after the fact. It's called a Refer a Friend Challenge. So what you're going to do as a subscriber, and let's just take somebody who's here. Let's go with Dougford. All right, Doug's been a loyal viewer with us for quite a while. So here's what we want you to do, Doug. Think about people who you know who have a YouTube account. You share this video, any video, a post, anything to them and say, hey, check out those guys at Ref the District and subscribe to their channel. So you're going to want to send it to people who you know are Commanders fans, right? And say, hey, check them out and subscribe to their video. Then what that person is going to do is they're going to subscribe, and then they're going to comment on one of our videos, say, hey, Dougford referred me to your channel and I subscribed. If you do that 3 times, if you get 3 subscribers that you referred, we're going to send you one of these.
Hey.
Or one similar to this. It's a,
Right.
what do you call this? This is a tumbler.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tumbler. They're really, really awesome. This is the one that we all have, Ref the District folks. Or it'll be something similar to this. But this is really, really cool kind of tumbler. All you got to do is get 3 people to subscribe. Now, don't cheat. Don't try and Dougford's going to go call or share our video to Jersey Slim and say, hey, go unsubscribe and then resubscribe and say, hey, Dougford told me to subscribe. We can see that.
Yeah.
We know who is, who was, and who is becoming subscribers. So we'll know if that's going on. But that's all you got to do. Refer 3 people who then comment and let us know that they were referred by you. You get 3 of them. We're going to send you one of these.
Hey.
Something just like that. That's the Refer a Friend challenge that we got going on here at Ref the District. We're just trying to get our show, our content out there to more Commanders fans that don't know about Ref the District. And they can say something also. They can say something like, yeah, Dougford recommended me or referred me, and I subscribed. And, man, I'm so glad I did because you guys have an amazing show. But it's a very entertaining show.
Yes.
So do that. We'll send you one of these. Right? That's pretty cool, right?
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, look at that. That guy's a little bit scary right there. So anyway, that's all you got to do to with this challenge right here. And we'll see how that goes. Just get 3. Everybody gets 3. We'll have a lot more people in here, a lot more Commanders fans to talk all about what is going on with the Commanders. So what we're going to talk about here in the cool down here in just a second is we're going to talk all about, we've got a lot of updates on what's going on in Commanderland and across the NFL with Trevor's news and notes. So stay tuned because we're going to talk about it here in the cool down. All right. Well, once again, welcome back to episode number 213 of Ref the District here on the Believe Network, sponsored by Bet Online and Don't Sleep Energy Drink. And of course, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And we just talked about the Refer a Friend challenge for everybody to share the video with somebody and then have them subscribe. You do that 3 times and we'll send you a cool little tumbler. All right, Trev, we got to do some news and notes here about some different things going on across the league. So we're going to talk about here with Trev's news and notes. for all your Commanders
Supposed to be
news
playing.
and
Is it not
notes.
playing?
It's the TNN. Here's Trev. Little glitch there that kept
Yeah, we could hear you asking as it was playing. It was funny.
all right, Trev, give us some news and notes. What's happening, man?
It's kind of quiet on Commander Land, but like Stoner said earlier in the show, NFL never sleeps, so there's a little bit of action going on. First up, Marty Herney. You all remember that guy? Yeah, from the last regime. His contract has expired. He is no longer a member of the Washington organization. He was with the previous regime as an advisor role under Ron Rivera. Nothing crazy, but he was part of the bad front office that, put us in the quarterback purgatory. So,
what do you make of that, Trev? What do you make of him being a part of that? We all thought he was gone when Adam Peters came in, right?
Yeah.
We all thought that he was going to be one of the first guys to go.
Yeah.
But he stuck around, but only for a year. What do you read into that?
I think that Adam Peters and them saw value in him outside of what Ron Rivera had him doing when he was part of that front office regime. Marty Herney has been successful in the NFL, no matter how you look at it, what he's done, no matter what he did for us or not, he has been successful. And I think they go back together in San Francisco a little bit too, or maybe him and Lance Newmark have some Detroit history, something like that. So I just figure they probably say, hey, we could, you got 1 year left, might as well stick around as an advisor, just to help us, fill a void. If we need it, you're there. We don't have to worry about filling that position right now. So, and then they let his contract expire and they said, thank you for your services and keep going. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I just think they saw something in him that could actually benefit them rather than what he did with the previous regime.
Yeah. And there was probably some, you needed somebody from the previous regime to kind of transition the new folks and the old folks and how sort of the operation worked.
Right.
Because you can't just walk into an organization without any previous knowledge of how things work.
Exactly.
So that might be it too. But I did find it kind of weird that they retained him last year, and then after the 1 year, it's just like, you're gone.
See you later. So that's that. Speaking of new people, the Commanders have hired 2 new people to their coaching staff. Brian Schneider has been hired to be the assistant special teams coordinator next to Larry Izzo. He was in San Francisco during the Super Bowl year they had, and I think his special teams was really good. The kicker was really good, yada, yada, yada. So now he's with us. And then we also signed a guy named Jesse Madden, who is the grandson of the great John Madden. He just graduated from Michigan. He's going to be the offensive quality control coach for us here in Washington. He played quarterback in Michigan, then switched to DB, and he was a member of the 2024 national football team. Don't know if he contributed, but he got a ring, and he's a member of it. So he's on our staff now. So there's that. Not really sexy hires, but 2 hires that needed to be had.
The name's pretty,
yeah,
sexy, right?
Yeah. So, and then salary cap. Dan Graziano from ESPN has put out that the salary cap will be going a lot higher next year in 2025. An increase between, I think, like 22 and 27.1 million overall increase, which is taking it to like 270 some million dollars. I think the salary cap is next year, which is a big deal. Supposedly it exceeded what all the executives thought was going to be for the salary cap, but it's higher than what they thought. So
more money.
It's more money for next year. And then Mayor Bowser came out and said that 174 acres at RFK is what's needed to do what they need to do, which would be to build a stadium and provide housing, jobs, more opportunities, stuff like that. All they need is 174 acres at RFK. I saw somebody in the comments ask about that. So it has been kind of quiet. Yeah, it has been kind of quiet, but Mayor Bowser came out and said that today. So looks like RFK could be a really, 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 really good potential spot for a new stadium in 2030, 2031.
I mean, there's just a lot of political maneuvering in terms of making a deal between the city and the Commanders. They have
Now,
to come up with a deal.
do you think it's taken this long and so complicated because the Washington Commanders represent the DMV, like not just one state, but more than one state? So they're having a harder time. That's why it's more politically involved, because either Virginia wants it or Maryland wants it or the city of DC wants it, and it's all right there, rather than like somewhere in LA or Texas where it's like, we want a new stadium. It seems like they get it done within like a year or 2 years, maybe even 3 years. You know what I mean? So do you think it's because of where we are located in the region it's so politically involved?
I don't think that it's necessarily because of the location in terms of having a bunch of different options for them. But I do think that plays a big role in terms of the Commanders getting a good deal.
Yeah.
Right? Because you really have two. I take Virginia out of it. Virginia's really not that interested. But you take two different political groups who are vying for your services, if you will, right? And so the Commanders are going to use that leverage to be able to get the best deal. Because, yes, they want it in D.C. The Commanders want it in D.C. D.C. wants the Commanders there. But Maryland also wants the team there to stay in Maryland.
Yeah.
And Josh Harris is going to use that to his best ability to get a better deal from DC. But it all comes down to it. If Maryland has a much better deal on the table, they're going to stay in Maryland.
Right.
They're not going to take a worse deal in order to appease the people who want the nostalgia of RFK. They're not going to do that.
Right.
But I think he can use Maryland against DC in order to get a better DC deal. But there's no doubt they want to go into DC, and that's only going to help the Commanders get the best deal possible.
Right. Okay. Other than that, I think that's about it in Commanders land.
I got a couple, just a couple add-ons there.
Okay.
It was announced today, anyway, that the Chargers.
Oh, yes.
The Chargers are playing the first game. Well, I guess it's the second game in Brazil, the Friday. So you have Thursday, you have opening night. Who's ever going to play against the Commanders? I have a source that said it's going to be not against the Commanders, against the Eagles. But I have a source that says it's going to be the Bears. The Bears are going to play at the Eagles on opening night Thursday. But on Friday is the first game in Brazil. That's become the new tradition, right? They did that in 2024. Yeah. So now they're doing it again in 2025. It is announced today that the Chargers are going to be the home team for that game. Well, Washington has 9 road games this year. One of them is against the Chargers. So they're one of 9 possible teams that could be going to Brazil on the first Friday.
That'd be cool.
I think that would be really cool.
That'd be cool.
And your boy might be there if they do.
Say what?
Your boy might be there if they do.
Oh, okay.
But that could happen.
Okay.
And then add on to that is that the Dolphins are playing in Madrid, Spain.
Yeah. We play the Dolphins this year.
And the Dolphins, that's one of their home games. And so we are one of 8 or 9 teams. I don't know how many home games the Dolphins have, but we're one of 8 or 9 teams that could be possibly playing in Madrid against the Dolphins. So there's 2 possibilities that one of Washington's away games will be an overseas game. And if they go to Madrid, your boy might be there. Yeah. That would be pretty cool too. Madrid or Sao Paulo, I think, is where they're playing in Brazil this year.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty. So that's just another something to add to the news and notes.
Okay.
All right, Trev. The last subject, again, before we sort of head out of here, it is the off season. So our live shows are usually a little bit shorter than others unless something big breaks. But let's talk about and I want to hear from everybody here. Let's talk about who are the building blocks for the Commanders right now. If you had talked about this, and we did talk about it, but before, when we talked about who the building blocks were before last season, we basically said McLaurin, Cosme, and then Payne and Allen. And that was it, right? They were the building blocks. That's all you had. But who are the building blocks this year? Again, I want to hear from everybody else. Who are the building blocks on the Commanders right now going forward? And let's just put Jayden Daniels aside because he's the biggest building block possible. Who else are now their building blocks?
Well, you will start with Terry McLaurin because you got to build that wide receiver room.
For sure.
Outside of him, we don't have a wide receiver that's
for sure.
So Terry McLaurin for sure. I'm gonna go with Tyler Biadasz or Biadasz or whatever.
Biadasz.
Slash
you gotta say his name.
Biadasz / Cosme / Coleman, because I think we are going to address the offensive line this season via free agency or draft, and I think in order for us to have a good running game and to take the next step, which would be the Super Bowl, you need good trench play. And so I think Tyler, for the most part, I know he's banged up on the last few games of the season, but for the most part, he was very durable, very, very good. Didn't allow any sacks, I don't think, during his time at the center position. You got Brandon Coleman, who looks to be serviceable at some either left tackle, right tackle, or guard position. So he's young and up and coming. And then you got Cosme. He's going to be out next year probably with the ACL. Mm-hmm. But you want to find somebody that he can, find continuity with and plug and play with. So when he comes back, you don't miss a beat. So I think those three are your strongest three all linemen that we have too. Because I think Wiley's going to be gone. I think we're going to save some money by letting him go, like near $20 million if we let him go. And Allegretti's nice, but he's like a rotational guard. I think he'd be better as that rather than a starting guard. So that's why I'm not including him in the other three. But those three for sure. And then on defense, you got to go. Man, that's tough. Frankie Louvu, and then Mikey Sandistro. I think you got to build that DB room up. I know we got Marshawn Lattimore. That's a start, but you got to. Who knows how long we'll have him? But you got to start with Mikey to get that room built out, and then the linebacker room. You got an aging Bobby Wagner who might not come back this year. He might. After that, you got a second-year Jordan McGee. And then after that, it's like Michael Walker was last year. He might be gone too. So you got to fill out that linebacker room, and who else to do it with Frankie Louvu. So I'm gonna go Frankie Louvu, Mike Sanistro, 3 offensive linemen, and Terry McLaurin.
I would agree with most of those. I'd probably agree with all of them. The way I usually look at building blocks are, put it this way, would you buy their jersey? Right? Yeah. Obviously, again, Jayden Daniels, everybody would buy their jersey, right? You got one right up there, right? Terry McLaurin, of course, you would buy his jersey. And that's not, obviously, it's not a building block, is not a popularity contest, but I'm just talking about a guy who's productive, who is favored by fans, and who's going to be here a while, right? That is going to be here for 2 or 3 more years, and that's why I don't think you can put guys like Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler. You can't put guys like that on there because you don't know,
right?
But so I would definitely agree with all those offensively: Biadasz, Cosme, Jayden Daniels, of course, and Terry McLaurin. Yeah. And there are guys who have a chance to be building blocks. Like you said, Brandon Coleman has a chance to be that. Ben Sinnott has a chance to be that. We'll have to see. But at this point, they're not because they haven't proven anything. Those guys have not. But defensively, I'm still putting the 2 defensive tackles are still building blocks for me. I'm putting Frankie Louvu, obviously, would you buy a number 4 jersey?
Yes.
Of course you would. because you know he's going to be here, and you know he's productive and he's popular. And Mikey Sanistril, definitely. Would you buy a 0 jersey?
Yes.
I mean, without hesitation, right? Maybe even Lattimore. We'll have to see how things go, right? Because you've got him under contract for 2 years. And maybe a Quan Martin also. I mean, he's going into year 3.
You love some Quan Martin, bro.
Yeah. I'm not big on Quan Martin. I think
On who?
On Quan Martin.
Oh.
Nathan's big on Quan Martin.
Yeah, I'm not big on Quan.
I'm not in love with him.
No.
He's done some things. I mean, that he had a pick 6 in the divisional.
That's cool.
It was awesome.
It was needed. Thank you. But
I'm just not big on him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
He's got some stuff to prove.
Yeah.
So those are some guys. And I'm making a prediction right now. I want to get this on record. This is my prediction. Prior to game 1 of the 2025 NFL season for the Commanders, Terry McLaurin is getting a contract extension. It's not going to be this massive deal, right? It's not going to be a Jamar Chase $40 million a year deal, right?
Or T. Higgins $30 million a year.
Yeah. They're going to re-sign him. They're going to make it cap friendly. He's not going to give him a hometown discount.
Right.
But it's going to be cap friendly for a few years. And he is besides Jayden Daniels, he's the ultimate building block. I don't care if he's 30. I don't care if you don't think he's a number 1. He's everything that you need for a team to be successful going forward. So I think they're going to sign him to an extension before game 1 of the season.
I do. I agree.
That's my kind of way too early.
It's going to be more like signing bonuses and incentive based too, I think. So we can save some money. Yeah.
And he's going to be here forever. And even though he's 30, he's not necessarily slowing down, but he's not what he was when he was 25.
No.
But he's still a super valuable member. He had this year, he had about the same amount of catches that he normally does. He had about the same amount of yards that he normally does. But dude had how many touchdowns in the regular season?
12.
12? Something
13,
like that, right?
like that, yeah.
And did he have one in every playoff game, or I know he had one in Detroit. I know he had one against Philly. Did he have one against Tampa? Maybe not.
No. Yeah. No.
Did he have one against Tampa? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Let us remind us if Terry McLaurin had a touchdown. But think about that. And also think about how many times Terry McLaurin got tackled at the 1 yard line.
Oh my God.
In the regular season. They had the Cleveland game where they had that crazy rollout. Jayden Daniels threw it like 50 some odd yards down the field, and Terry caught it and got tripped at the 1. And you had the I can't even remember all of them, but he had at least like 3 where he was tackled at the 1 yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he could have had 16, 17. When you add the postseason touchdowns, he had almost 20 touchdowns this year. It could have had almost 20 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
Amazing. So he is definitely a building block. And maybe I already mentioned it, but sorry, Deron Payne and John Allen are still building blocks for this team. They just are.
Somebody's leaving from that defensive line, though.
You're probably right. I agree that one of those is probably going to get cut or traded or whatever, salary cap cut, not like cut because you suck, but cut because it's better for our future. I get that. But until then, they are building blocks. And if it was up to me, I'd keep both of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are building blocks. And there was a couple that you mentioned that could be in the future. Allegretti is a guy that could be, but probably not. I mean, are you going to buy a 67 jersey?
No.
Right. But you'd buy a 63 jersey, right?
Yeah, for sure. Jersey? Yeah, I would.
You'd walk around with that. But just think about like 3 years ago. when you were thinking about buying a jersey, it was basically Terry McLaurin or not, maybe a John Allen. That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't buying any jerseys because you're like, this guy, first of all, is probably not very good. And second of all, he's probably not going to be around for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a lot of decisions got to be made on this team, obviously in the offseason. In the warm-up earlier, we talked all about the key dates. Let's not forget that right now, the franchise tags can be put on players, franchise or transition tags. Next week is the combine.
Already.
Start of the combine. It's here already, and that's going to be a lot of fun to look at guys who are going to be available at 29 when Washington picks. And, of course, you have free agency. Legal tampering is on March 10th. That's less than a month away when free agents are going to start agreeing to contracts, and we're going to see who Washington is going to go after. And then March 12th is when you can start making trades. Are they going to trade for a Max Crosby or Myles Garrett or any of these guys, or a Cooper Kupp, or is Cooper Kupp going to get released and then go sign him as a free agent? Offseason is here, but man, the NFL never stops.
Never sleep.
Yeah, and so that's what we talked about in the warm-up. And of course, in the game, we talked all about who are the breakout players last year and who we kind of expect to be the breakout players next year or this upcoming season for the Commanders. And don't forget the Refer a Friend Challenge. Again, I'll just say it real quick. Share this video with someone that you know. Encourage them to subscribe to Ref the District. Have them comment to us to let them know that you referred them. If you do that 3 times, if we see your name 3 times that you subscribe people, we're going to send you a cool little tumbler directly to your home. A brand new one, not a used one like this one. No, a brand new one that we'll send directly to you. So that's what we had here on Ref the District today. Trev, you got any last thoughts on anything that we talked about?
No, not really. I think we covered it all.
All right. Appreciate everybody who was here. We had some guys who came in late. We saw you, Gus Bus, when you came in late. Catfish, K-A-T Fish was here. That's a pretty cool name. Catfish looks to be like a draft expert. And of course, JG, Luis, all the guys who are normally here. TJ, Locked On, Roger, of course, was here. Tommy T, Jersey Slim, everybody. We appreciate everybody who is always here with us on Doug Ferd, Joel Sanders, all you guys who are always supportive of the show. We appreciate you. Make sure you check out that Refer a Friend, because if you're not watching live, you can still do it. There is no time limit on this. And that's the question. There is no time limit on this, right? You send us 3 subscribers. Again, try to make them Commanders fans, because we want to keep them around and enjoy the content and be able to have these discussions as always. So no time limit on that. And make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And of course, we are a proud member of the Believe Network. We are sponsored, of course, by Bet Online and Don't Sleep Energy. And Trev, until next time.
Yeah.
That's it. Got nothing?
No.
All right. Well, then be a fan.
Yeah.